If you do not want to change, if you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break outside of this matrix, if you want to live in your comfortable delusion that they have built for you, do not watch this video. Leave this channel.
Because when I step to the game, I rip that shit
If you
apart. My
do not
evolution with the
want
Gyarados
any
from
truth
Magic Carpet, and I ain't
and
paying
don't want to
shopping 'cause the
understand,
whole
if
world
you
is
are
in my
not
cart.
here
When you fucking
to
with me, you choose a role and play
hear
your part.
something that's outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions, the way they think for themselves, you do not belong.
I'm trying as hard as I can
And
against
finally,
all of the odds, pushing
if you
as
are
hard as I
not
could
trying
is
to
what got me so far.
be positive,
But what are my
if you are
chances
not
of
trying
reaching
to
the
help
stars? Still,
create
I would never
solutions
get
while
a
we
tatted
discuss
over
the
my heart.
problems and
Never
how they got
muscles
here,
tighten and my weed up in
you
the
do
jar.
not belong
Sexy
here.
Middle Eastern
Negativity,
looking ass like I'm Jafar.
hate,
When it comes to the
disrespect,
game, I'm an
name
eagle,
calling,
you're par.
those
We
things
gon'
will
get
not
the
be
slipping.
allowed here
I'ma
on this
catch you
platform.
off guard while you
And not
chillin'
in
in
this
the crib.
empire.
Got your chick in my car.
We are
Every time you
the
hear it
ones,
tripping like
the
that
true
shit sounds
Americans
bizarre. Your
that
favorite
want
rapper
to
try hard,
be
still is a
free
mark.
and
Still like the
stand
fuel
as
to
we
the
have
game,
always
watch
stood.
spark. My lines burn like blunts getting smoked in the dark. Hella cooking shit up if your ass wanna spar. Barbecue your beef up like the seats in my car. Cool yourself off refrigerator and jar. Baby rappers be acting like this is not an art. Huh, you forgot about that part. Lady rappers be acting like this is not an art.
Knew we had to do it again. Forgot about that part. You knew what time it was. You knew what time it was. You knew we had to do it again. Welcome back. Welcome back. You know, we had to really get deeper into the conversation. Is there a war against America? Is this a war against America? All this hate coming towards America, all the dysfunction within America. Is this a war against America? This is what I'm trying to figure out today. So I got a few videos and whatnot that I was looking at. The president said a few things, and I'm starting to read between the lines a little bit. I'm seeing where everybody is coming from, each perspective. A lot of people don't really care. Like, they don't really care. I found that out today. You know, I was going around a little bit, and I was just looking, and I realized that some people just don't care, and it's a bit of a majority. I wish more people would care. This is wishful thinking, hopeful thinking, optimism, hopeful optimism, all kinds of different things. Even stupid people would, you know, brand that as stupid. Me just trying to actually care, try a little bit, you know, that's stupid for some reason. Um, and it's apparently never gonna happen. Apparently, we're never gonna work together. This is the stuff that I'm hearing. I'm not seeing anybody that really cares. There's nobody speaking on this that really cares. And the people that really do care are getting drowned out by the people that don't care. You know, I'm not sure why there's not more love in the world. Maybe there's a lack of love in the household. Maybe most people growing up are just resentful. Maybe they're just full of resentment for their parents, how they grew up. You know, it's pretty sad when you think about it. It's really sad. I wish there was another way for me to help people, but I don't think they really want help. Most people just want to vent or complain. because if the problem gets solved, they lack conversation. A lot of people are not critical thinkers. They're not intellectual. They don't really like use their brains, and some of them just can't use their brains, no matter how hard they try, um, because they cannot disconnect from the physical realm. Some people are so embedded and entrenched in the physical realm through habitual reassignment and constant routine. They lose track of all the spiritual things that are happening and all the actual, uh, I want to say, theological ideas that are going on through a person's head when they're thinking, but it's more of the philosophy in your mind. And the philosophy of the mind is not being cultivated in young people, and that's what is stopping them from being able to think critically. Especially on the spot, critical thinking is very important. Like thinking on your feet. A lot of people, they just can't do it. They have to tell me what to do, or they're gonna look for help. Figuring things out isn't for everybody. Now, me specifically, when I catch myself at the point to where I'm ready to reach out for help, it's because I'm doing it, and for some reason, it's not working out, and it's not happening. The thing's not working. So if I reach out for help, it's more like an instructional, is what I'm referencing, more so than the individual to come and do it for me. There's a lot of people that will just have somebody do something for them instead of actually carrying through with the learning process and actually completing the task themselves. I guess it's just like some people aren't really geared and built for real life, so they have to have like guardrails and training wheels and things like that. But you know, it's not it's not strange that that happens, because that's most people, which is why Jesus came, not for the righteous, but for the sinners, right? All right, so um, we're gonna just go through here. I got a few of these. I'm gonna pull them up right now. Give me a sec. We will do. Okay. All right. So we're just gonna do this one real quick. All right, we're about to run this one right here. This is Cash Jordan. I love this guy. He's awesome. He keeps it real. He's funny. You know, he keeps it a buck. He's not the kind of person that's gonna try to sugarcoat some shit. He goes straight after it. Very clean. So we're gonna go ahead and check out what he's talking about. And this is more along the lines of what I'm talking about, because a lot of people they're not paying attention, and they're lacking that critical thinking, right? And I do feel like there's a war against America right now. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure who's all invited to the party, basically. So this is the shit I'm trying to figure out. All right. He's about to go in. This is a sensitive topic.
New York's mayor just doomed every store in town. Look at this.
Here's how it will work. Once a month, our 5 city-run grocery stores will set prices for this core set of goods at 30% below typical retail prices. No exceptions, no gimmicks.
What?
The savings will last for the entire month. That means no weekly fluctuations nor sticker shock at the checkout line. A collection of essential staples that will be predictably 30% cheaper at all 5 of our city-run grocery stores.
30%
This core set of
off?
goods will include all fresh produce, meat, and seafood, along with 20 other essential items like cheese, milk, and bread.
Milk,
Another
30%
picture-perfect
off?
photo op for the city's social
Are you
media
kidding
mayor.
me? So every other store in town has prices that are here, and the mayor's price is going to be 30% lower. What could go wrong?
The mayor's plan will hurt the mom-and-pop establishments that he represents.
Of course it
We
will.
know what we're doing. You don't. You're 33 years old. You've never owned a business. You've never run a city. You've never run a business.
Will it hurt bodegas?
Wow.
It will hurt everybody, not just bodegas. It will hurt communities.
The mayor
These
insists
guys are
bodegas
done.
won't be hurt because his stores won't have deli counters or sell hot food, nor will they sell cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, because everyone needs lottery tickets for dinner. These businesses are making 1% to 2% profit margins, so the city is going to wipe them out. And then when there's no stores left and everybody has to spend all their time commuting to the free grocery store run by Mom Dottie, we're going to have mass unemployment and homelessness. But it gets worse.
Lottery tickets.
And we know that a lot of what drives revenue for these bodegas, grocery stores, those are things that make it possible for them to continue to operate. Those are not things we have any interest in competing for.
Yeah, not yet.
And
Not
the
until
city is
they're
also
closed.
seeking a qualified grocer to operate the stores, someone who can develop a cost-effective food supply chain, and a New York City Groceries private label.
Okay, here's
I
the
can
problem.
see it now.
There is no cost-effective food supply that is 30% below what people are already selling at a 1% to 2% profit margin. That means the city is going to be buying groceries and then selling them for less than what they bought them for. This is an absolute disaster. And the experts are saying it's going to fall apart before it even begins. Check this out.
Well, we got a problem, but he's got a problem. The problem is that he's trying to create something that's not viable.
Yeah.
And I agree with Avi, who was on there previously. The fact is that he should make it more affordable and give reasons for all the supermarket chains, all the bodegas, all the food stores to lower prices.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's not gonna do that.
What he's doing is creating problems
Yep.
with not necessarily him or the state. Congestion pricing. It's costing us more to do business in New York City because of congestion pricing. I mean, can you imagine a vendor coming in from New Jersey and you're telling them that you want them to deliver product to a store in New York? They say, oh no, we're going to charge you 15% more.
Wow. So these stores, because of city policies, are charging 15% more than they used to charge. And now the mayor is going to undercut them by 30%. This is wild. And it's not just this congestion pricing. Crime is out of control in these supermarkets. People are stealing stuff. That's not going to be a problem for the city-run stores because they're the ones that are stealing from everybody who lives in New York just to exist in the first place. Look at this.
Sounds like what you're essentially offering these purveyors of grocery services is you cover the property tax, you build out the building, you cover any sort of recurring rent, but they have to bring in the food, discount at a certain amount, high quality of wages. I mean, these are millions of dollars effectively shuffling back and forth. So I'm wondering why not just spend these millions of dollars and give to agencies like the Campaign Against Hunger or City Harvest or, just direct established food programs.
Of course.
We see in this city an opportunity to take an all of the above approach. We are going to continue to work with incredible partners like the ones that we're here with today, as well as ensure that food pantries across the 5 boroughs can flourish. And what we have seen is that far too often when it comes to city government's approach to delivering on affordability for groceries, there's always been the question of intermediaries, whatever it may be. And we are excited to deliver directly to New Yorkers that lower cost of essential goods.
That's not really an answer because the question was, why don't you just take all this money that you've got and just give it to the stores that already sell stuff so they can lower their prices? And that was a long way of saying, we're not going to do that because that would mean somebody with a private business gets rich or makes a profit, God forbid, selling something at a price that people can't afford, which is the goal of these businesses anyways. But now the question is, why are we here? New York is the most unaffordable city. How did we get to this point? And why is the free grocery store so important to the mayor?
This leaves too many New Yorkers feeling like groceries are out of reach. And that is frankly unacceptable, which is why city government is stepping in to make people's lives more affordable.
After making them
Today,
unaffordable.
I am proud to announce a collection of essential staples that will be predictably 30% cheaper at all 5 of our city-run grocery stores. That means no weekly fluctuations nor sticker shock at the checkout line.
Sticker shock.
Not for our seniors living on fixed incomes, nor for the parents who rely on a regular supply of apple slices to keep toddler tantrums at bay.
Why would you go to a regular supermarket if this place opens and is 30% cheaper? And what's going to stop people who run these local businesses and bodegas from going to these stores and
If they're not gonna make these stores like how Costco is, where you can't get in without your membership, you have to have like a eligibility, then it's not gonna make a difference. But if it's like, are you eligible, then that's different. But I mean, what's to stop them from taking that and go selling it? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
buying things and then just reselling them in their little bodegas? You know that's going to start happening. These free grocery stores are going to get cleaned out overnight. And then what's going to happen? Then the city's going to say, gee, these things are so popular. Wow, we need even more money. And because some businesses are buying these groceries, lowering their prices, now we're going to lower our prices even more, which is just going to cost everybody else even more money. There is no way this does anything other than completely collapse. It's not even a fathomable idea that could possibly work, and it's going to make everyone's life here more expensive. Watch this.
This is it's a drop in the bucket to what it is that we need. There's problems that are not being addressed. Housing, like you mentioned, education.
And there remains concerns that mom and pop bodegas will not be able to compete with these stores. The city is attempting to offset some of that by not allowing government-run grocers to sell hot food, alcohol, and cigarettes, where smaller corner stores make most of their money.
Places like this are the lifeblood of our community. And at the end of the day, if we don't keep them open, we're giving into the source of capitalism that's destroying our community as a whole.
Well, the problem is it's actually socialism that's destroying these communities.
See, look at that. Oh, it's capitalism. We're giving into capitalism. What? How is capitalism? Dude, you guys are using capitalism wrong. And that's why the society's failing. You're not doing it right. Your business is supposed to make profit, and you're supposed to like leave money in the business so it stays doing good. And you're supposed to give yourself a tiny cut, not a lot, just a little bit more than the average person so you can live good, right?
But the reason people are voting for it is because they think that the free grocery stores are going to help bring about something that fixes everyone's problems. But they're going to lead to the exact problems these voters are scared of. At the same time, once these stores are closed, where are people going to get all the stuff that's not being sold at the Mamdani marts? Where are they going to get? Well, those things are going to be brought into the government-run stores. The product selection will expand. People are going to demand it. People are going to say, I want to buy everything for 30% off. Why do I only have to get vegetables at 30% off? Everybody needs all kinds of stuff. Families have diverse needs. And it's not right that these stores are ripping everybody off. That's exactly what they're going to say. And watch, within a year of these things opening, people are going to complain that the product selection is not what they want. More stuff is going to come in. Just you wait.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
What would you say to local grocery store owners who say a municipal grocery store will siphon business from them, potentially lead them to raise prices for customers or shut down? And is your administration considering other alternatives, such as maybe helping grocery store owners subsidize rents or increase their
why don't they just do that?
power in some way that they can then pass on to the customer?
So we've talked about 5 city-run grocery stores, 1 in each borough. And thus far, we've announced La Marqueta in Manhattan and La Peninsula in the Bronx. And these 2 sites showcase the example of when you are speaking about a dense neighborhood, there is more than enough market for both existing grocers as well as one city-run grocery store. When we're talking about La Marqueta, we're talking about more than 65,000 New Yorkers who live within 10 minutes of that
so
grocery store.
So why is there no grocery store there already?
La Peninsula, we're talking about more than 150,000 New Yorkers who live in the Hunts Point area alone. And what we've seen is that the city already operates subsidized markets, for example, at Essex Street Market. And those are operating near multiple grocers, multiple bodegas, and we have not seen harm to local stores.
Because they're not 30% less.
What we've also seen is that this is not the only approach that we have to dealing with the question of food insecurity, and also food operators. Just last week, we were proud to announce.
But the real problem here is you could take the millions that this is going to cost, and you could just pay all of the rent for all these little grocery stores in these neighborhoods that have food insecurity issues. Speaking of which, the food insecurity in some of these places exists because there were stores like Target, but those got looted out of existence and closed because there was so much theft. So that's why you might have 65,000 people living somewhere in 0 full supermarkets. Or at the same time, these bodegas, what are they paying? They're paying rents, they're paying minimum wages, they're paying taxes, they're paying for all their utilities. The free stores don't have to pay any of that stuff. Of course, it's going to be easier to have a 30% lower price. There is no way to compete especially for these family-owned stores, they're going to evaporate. It's going to happen fast. And then the other problem is these free grocery stores, the people in the grocery business think they're not even going to be all that successful once they're the only alternative.
And the fact is that 5 stores, 1 in each borough, is not going to affect anybody's lifestyle. I mean, supermarkets traditionally say, oh, 30% off on this, 30% off on this. I mean, that's traditional. You know, Milk Wars, traditional. You know, people go to Costco, people go to Walmart. So nobody's going to go out of their neighborhood to say, I'm going to go shop in that store because it's the mayor's store. It's not going to happen.
Well, you know, that 70 million, John,
but even if that doesn't happen, if you've got 65,000 people in a neighborhood that doesn't have a grocery store and they all can go to the grocery store because they live close enough to it, what's that going to do to the businesses that are in that area? At the exact same time, we've got this issue of how they're going to control who is shopping at these places. Can people come into New York from another state and do all their shopping at this place on the weekend and then go back to New Jersey? Is that going to be allowed? Are you going to have to show your ID to make sure that the right people are shopping at these stores, the people who actually live in these neighborhoods and pay taxes for them to stay open? And what are they going to do? I am curious because you got these businesses that really want to survive and they're going to see these vegetables, they're going to see this produce, they're going to go buy it. They're going to buy it cheaper from the Mamdani Mart than they get it from their own distributor. Then they're just going to resell it in their bodega. How's the mayor going to stop that from happening? Where are the answers to these questions that are going to bring about the implosion of this whole thing before it even kicks off?
Joanne Ariola said 70 million. She goes, just give the money to our residents and give them Costco memberships. That's where you can have over 1 million Costco memberships with $70 million. But I digress.
So the last free program, I think, that the city launched, and what happened is everyone went there, scarfed up all the free stuff, and then sold it for a big profit on the black market. What's to keep people from elsewhere coming to these stores, buying up tons of groceries, and then setting up shop on the corner and reselling it for profit?
Of course, wholesale is still cheaper.
Well,
the fact is that it doesn't work. It's not going to happen. Why don't you go to Walmart and bring it in too? I mean, it's not making the city more affordable is more important. And don't forget, the city borrowed the money from the state one time. $8 billion to balance their budget. $8 billion.
And that's where this free grocery store money's coming from. It's coming from a city budget, which they couldn't even afford, so they had to borrow money from the state. So all of New York, the whole state, is paying for free grocery stores in New York City that not everybody can even use. The whole thing is a ridiculous circus. There's nothing that's going to stop people from bringing a massive truck and going to one of these places and just buying everything in the store, cleaning it out right away, bringing all that produce right outside and selling it somewhere else. How are you going to prevent that? But the bigger issue here is affordability. Why are groceries so expensive? Well, you've got impossible costs that these businesses have. Their rent is impossibly high. They've got to pay impossibly high wages. We're talking $30 an hour minimum wage that's coming to New York City in a few years. And then they've got impossibly high crime and impossibly high utility rates. New York has some of the worst utility rates in the entire country. In a grocery store, they use a lot of utilities. They need refrigeration. They need running water. They need tons of electricity. They got to keep all kinds of stuff at different temperatures, especially if they're selling frozen food, refrigerated food, and hot food. I mean, it's impossible to run a successful business in New York because you have the city doing everything it can to take from you in terms of fees and taxes, and then they're going to bring in their own store because you're too expensive. It's almost like these business owners are being punished for trying to exist in spite of a system that exists to punish them.
Well, according to the statistics, $11 billion in future revenue is gone already. So 8 plus 11 is 19. So what do you do with next year's budget? I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, it's an election year for Kathy Hochul, John. That's not to state the obvious. Everybody watching, our viewers know this. But I want to ask you about
taxes. Have to go up. They've got to find more money somewhere. So next year, all of the threats, all of the new taxes and fees that the mayor came out with this year, that's nothing because they're going to need even more of it next year. So whatever happens to New York City in 2026 is the warm-up. This is the opening act of where socialism is going to take this place. And someone's been warning our country about this. Watch.
This is maybe going to make news because I've never said it. I'm just thinking about now. When they take something over, it's always dirty. The sidewalks are dirty. The people are, I hate to say this, not lean, okay? The curbs are loaded with you know what? The smell is terrible.
Yeah, that's New York.
I mean, I see it happening to cities. Blue cities are all blue. They're all blue. We don't have problems with the Republican-run cities, I mean, for the most part. But they're dirty. I said to somebody about a certain city, I don't want to say the name of it, but it's run by the radical left. I said, how is it doing? Because I love it. And they said, it's filthy.
He's talking about New York.
So dirty. They've never seen it like that. It's so filthy dirty.
It's getting bad, man.
And I just thought of it. Nobody ever says that. You know, I'm sort of a clean freak. I like clean. Do you ever see Washington, D.C.? Do you see Washington? What happened? Washington, D.C., it was filthy. Graffiti all over the place. We fixed up 72 monuments and fountains, and we've done an unbelievable. That's
not happening
off the
in New
beautiful
York.
marble columns. We have new grass going down. But you know what we did the best? We stopped crime in Washington. It's down 88%. And we moved out over 5,000 career animals. We moved them out, and it's really considered a very safe city. All the restaurants were closing.
But you see, that's what happens. When the communists get their hands on something, they destroy everything. The place gets dirty. The place falls apart. The infrastructure falls apart. And you have criminals running all over the place. That's what we're seeing in New York right now. These free grocery stores are not going to help it. All they're going to do is impoverish the neighborhoods where they are built while they steal from the entire state to exist in the first place. What do you think about that? I'll see you in the next video.
Alrighty, so it turns...
All right, so this right here, we're going after him today. I feel like there's this war on America, and you know they're trying to gaslight us to turn against each other, and we need to stop all this division. But we'll see what Shapiro says real quick.
Out that Gavin Newsom's ex-lover now has a piece in Vanity Fair. And listen, I bear no great love for the California governor. I think he has not done a good job as California governor. You can hear my critiques of him on a podcast I did. It was his podcast in California. This piece, however, it does expose something else, and that is a particular mentality about where responsibility lies when people decide to knock boots. There has been this bizarre kind of assumption that has crept through American society that under any circumstance in which a woman regrets having had some sort of sexual relationship with a dude, somehow a special responsibility lies with that dude. Now listen, this is coming from a guy who was a virgin until marriage. My wife was a virgin until marriage. The only people we have ever had sex with are each other. And I'm an advocate for this lifestyle. Okay, there's no more traditionalist person on planet Earth than I. When I say that as a prelude to the idea that you are responsible for your own sexual decision-making, and that you can't just blame that on power dynamics. This woman had an affair with Gavin Newsom way back when. This exploded outward a couple of decades ago, 20 years ago. So this woman was originally married to a Newsom staffer while he was the mayor, and then he started knocking boots with her. And now she has a long story in Vanity Fair, in which, again, the attempts to escape responsibility for your own bad decision-making, it's pretty wild. The entire structures of thought that we've built on top of all of this. So she writes in Vanity Fair about how she faced her demons but lost her voice. And now she's ready to share her story. So here's how it all went down, according to the person with whom Gavin Newsom had this affair. 2004, quote, start paying closer attention, she says, to what I wear. Chanel makeup, a yellow silk dress fitted at the waist, pink patent leather heels, at senior staff meeting. Basically, she decides that she doesn't like her life. She has an alcohol problem, and she ends up in an affair with Gavin Newsom. Right? And she admits in this article that it was totally consensual. Quote, the boundaries begin to disintegrate. I linger in doorways, position myself within his sightline. But it isn't the point. The point is proximity to power. And she uses cocaine and all the rest. Okay, now she ends up telling her husband. But she says this. Here's her conclusion. Quote, Me Too is still more than a decade away, but the arguments are already forming. I hear every explanation. None absolve. The responsibility to hold the line belongs to the one who holds it. That didn't happen evenly. We'll get to more on this in just a moment. First, I have a lot of opinions about a lot of things, but I never imagined I'd become someone with extremely strong opinions about betting. And yet, idea that this is a form of coercion. She had a fully consensual affair with Gavin Newsom. Again, gross. Gross by her. She's married and had a kid. Gross by him. She was married and had a kid. Also, this notion that because he was a powerful person, which is what drew her to him in the first place, as she admits, that somehow this relieves her of some level of responsibility, or that Gavin Newsom is uniquely guilty for the sin because he was powerful, which was the draw to him. How about you just say, I acted horribly? How about that? This piece is dropping in the launch to Newsom's run, right? Newsom is planning that he will drop his announcement of a run, I assume, immediately after the midterm elections. And, you know, my guess is that there'll be a lot more stories like this to come. I mean, Gavin Newsom was kind of known for this sort of thing in California for quite a while. Now, he has addressed this. He addressed this like 2 decades ago. I don't think this is a dog that's going to hunt a lot. And of course, at the time, he was married to, I believe, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who then went on to have a relationship with Don Jr. and is now our ambassador to Greece. Again, politics is a weird playground, is it not? Nonetheless, I think that you'll see some more pieces like this about Gavin Newsom, probably in the near future concerning his various peccadillos with various human beings. But the power dynamic argument that's made in the piece, I find, shall we say, unconvincing. There is something that undergirds this, and that is this perspective on life, that everything, value systems, everything is the outgrowth of power. Everything is a reflection of power. The postmodernist author, Michel Foucault, he argued that basically all structures are structures of power. And therefore, racism is not racism, it's racism plus power. Terrorism isn't terrorism. Terrorists are powerless. That's why they're terrorists. So the only true terrorism has to be driven by Western powers. And apparently, your responsibility for banging your boss while you're married is mitigated because he was powerful. We need a society in which blame and shame are things again. We do. Where your decisions are your own and you take full responsibility for those decisions. And we don't treat you as a victim. We don't treat you as though there's some sort of get out of jail moral free card here. That doesn't exist. Until we go back to that, we're going to have a country that has some serious values problems, and that's going to bleed over into our politics. What an amazing...
All right, so that's pretty much where that's headed. All right, let's see. What else do we got in the old yes. Oh wow, yeah, this was wild. They were blowing shit up. Oh, this one's pretty good. I never finished this one, so we do have.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is very exciting to me as a builder, somebody that builds lots of big, nice projects before I got here. And we're doing some of the best in the world right now. This is all about the Dulles Airport remodeling. It's considered one of the worst airports anywhere in the world. We're going to make it maybe the best with some hard work and some good thought process. But thank you for being here as we unveil exciting plans for a major and long overdue renovation and reconstruction of Washington's really horribly thought of Dulles International Airport. I want to thank Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. He's fantastic. He's doing a great job. And we can handle that really easily. So they've done. I just want to thank our great National Guard and the Metropolitan Police and others that worked with us. But the job in Washington, everyone's talking about. I can also say, if you look at Memphis, Tennessee, where crime was rampant, and it's down now 71%, and it'll go down still further. And Louisiana, New Orleans, the governor called. He said, we need help. And we gave him help, and the crime is down 72%. And they just finished Mardi Gras, and they said it was the safest Mardi Gras on record. So we have a modernization of Dulles that's sorely needed. Last year's J.D. Power ranked Dulles 23 out of 27. That's a very bad ranking. Large airports nationwide, so it ranks at the bottom of the list, just about the bottom of the list. After an extensive review of more than 30 proposals with the top architects anywhere that will be right next to the terminal. You'll walk right across the street, and you'll have a glass bridge, a number of glass bridges that will go right into the terminal. Safety aspects, both in terms of the airlines and in terms of crime, are unparalleled for what we're doing. For years, the United States has watched other major cities around the globe welcome travelers with grand and modern airports. Yet, the last major airport built in the United States was Denver in 19. You have a parking garage, which will be built right here. This whole thing is parking garage.
We're going to get rid of those. We're going to have a horseshoe train system throughout the airport. And as you mentioned, right down the spine of the airport is going to be
30 architects and 30 different designs.
There'll be minimal impact to them as they transit through our airport. So again, Mr. President, thank you.
So we're doing it all at one time. It'll all be completed, and it'll be beautiful, and it'll be something very special. I'd like to say something.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really want to thank the Airport Authority and United Airlines for your partnership.
Well, that's too bad for him. I mean, that's too bad for him and too bad for the Republican Party.
Do you believe that?
He's got the votes. He should get it done. He should be able to get it done.
Thank you. Dr. Fauci invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times today.
Yeah.
Senator Rand Paul said he's going to hold a vote on holding him in contempt of Congress. Do you think Dr. Fauci should face repercussions for this?
Well, I watched the whole thing today, but more importantly, I was a part of the whole Fauci. I inherited Fauci. He was here from the 1980s, so I had him for a period of time. And I disagreed with him on a lot. I would have kind of closed down the whole country if I listened to him. I went the Federalist way, which is basically let the governors decide. And generally speaking, the Republican governors did very well. The Democrat governors did not very well. But Fauci wanted to have nobody wearing masks, if you remember, and then everybody had to wear 5 masks, as many masks as you could get. I mean, made a lot of mistakes. And he wasn't a big factor for me. He was a very big factor for Biden. And if you remember, even though we were sort of prime time in terms of that whole disaster of COVID, far people died, fewer in the Trump administration than in the Biden administration. We ran it well. Operation Warp Speed was talked about as being one of the great success stories anywhere in the world, actually. And we did a good job. But many more people died under Biden than died in the Trump administration from COVID. COVID was a disaster, but Fauci did not help.
Do you think that the DOJ should reopen the investigation into the auto pen, specifically pertaining to Fauci?
Well, the only thing you can really think about is the auto pen, because the most powerful thing the president has, they say, is the power of pardon. So he was pardoned by Biden, and I respect that. I know how powerful it is. It's a very powerful, they say it's literally the most powerful thing a president has. Now, whether or not I sign my things directly, always, almost everything I sign directly, you're witness to many of them. He signed very few. The only thing I know that he signed was Hunter Biden's pardon, but I'm not sure that he signed. He probably didn't sign this one. So I can't tell you what the law is. I've heard that you have to have a lot of proof. You need to have letters. You need to have all sorts of things that the person operating the AutoPen has to know exactly what it's all about. He didn't know what it was about because I saw him testify. So maybe there's something on the AutoPen. Other than that, the power of pardon is very powerful.
Briefly Thank you. Beth at GB News. We've just heard you talking about another example of American excellence. That's really what this is, a project where you're striving to be the best in the world. As a Brit, that's really striking to me. You've had a couple of weeks to get to know our new Prime Minister. Have you spoken to him much? And do you think he is the man to lead us to excellence?
Well, he did say one very good thing. He said he's going to open up North Sea oil. If he does that, you're going to be a wealthy country. If he does it reasonably. I was telling Prime Minister Starmer, open up the North Sea, open it up, you'll be okay, open it up. They have two problems. They have a huge immigration problem, people coming from all over the world and just camping out in your country. And we've taken a very tough stand. In fact, for 14 months, nobody has come into our country. Zero, which is almost hard to believe, but that's what the report says. Our borders become very strong and your border's very weak. He's got that problem. And he's got an energy problem. He's got windmills all over the place. And anytime you see windmills, you see a failing country. And they're made in China, not used by China, but they're made in China. And you have a thing called the North Sea, and you buy a lot of your energy, as you know, from the North Sea. You buy from Norway, and Norway gets it from the North Sea. They get their oil from the North Sea, and Norway's got trillions of dollars in the bank, trillions. It sells its oil from the North Sea, and Scotland has a better part of the North Sea, and you have 500, 600, 700 years. You have areas of the North Sea that haven't even been explored yet. You have one of the most valuable oil finds anywhere in the world, and if the United Kingdom would use it, they'd be a wealthy country again. And I tell you what, I could not get Starmer to use it. It was incredible. Every oil company that I meet, and these are all big giants, every person that I know in the oil business said, please, could you open up the North Sea? Could you get them to open it? They're dying to do it. And if you open up the North Sea to the oil companies, Scotland, Ireland, the UK as a whole, but it's right in Aberdeen, Scotland. It's right in Aberdeen. And that would be one of the most vibrant. You know, it used to be called the oil capital of Europe. Aberdeen was the capital of Europe. And now it's, they don't drill oil. And nobody can understand why. You have it's among the finest oil, it's the best oil anywhere on the planet. And it's unbelievable plenty. You don't have to pay Norway triple what it costs them to take out. You have your own oil and gas. If you use the North Sea, the UK will be a really rich country. I cannot get the point across. The new gentleman, when I spoke to him, he said he's going to open up the North Sea. Let's see if that happens.
The Fed today voted to keep interest rates unchanged. Are you surprised by that? Are you disappointed in any way with Kevin Warsh?
No, Kevin's fantastic, but he's got a board. Yeah, Kevin's got a board. He's fantastic. He's a brilliant guy, smart. I know he'd love to see lower interest rates, but he's got a board, and it's a political board, and they want to keep rates up. But we fight through rates. We have the strongest investment ever made in a country, of any country. It was China about 13, 14 years ago. We have far greater, 19.2, even Jensen would say that's a lot. 19, and Jensen's spending a tremendous amount of money by hundreds of billions of dollars. He happens to be in the room. He's spending more than United, actually. But he's spending 10 billion. But Jensen's spending hundreds of billions, right? I don't know. That's not a bad business. But no, we have 19.2 trillion. It's the biggest number ever spent in any country by far. And that's over a period of 1 year. As an example, as you know, the Biden administration for 4 years did much less than 1 trillion. We're doing 19.2 trillion in 1 year. So we have things that are happening in our country, the likes of which nobody's ever seen. Plants and factories are moving in. Toyota just announced they're building one of the largest car plants anywhere in the world, and truck plants anywhere in the world. We are building more automobile plants now than at any time in the history of our country.
In particular, this is just one of several projects that you have underway in the DMV. Why would you say that you're so focused on transforming the Washington region right now?
Well, this is an important one. You know, this is travel. So in terms of the importance, I think the Arc is going to be incredible. I think the protected ballroom and military center that we're building at the White House is going to be unbelievable. It's very important. But, you know, this is the airport. This is sort of the lifeblood of a city or a capital, certainly a capital. And this will go from one of the worst, just like Washington. Washington was one of the worst places in this country, and now it's one of the best. You couldn't get into a restaurant because all the restaurants were closing or closed. They were afraid to have it open. Now you can't, if you're a restaurateur, you can't even find space to have a restaurant. So restaurants are booming. So, you know, it's a great thrill. And by the way, if you look, Washington is clean. It's safe. People walk to work. Every day, a young man or a young woman comes up and says, thank you, sir. I know exactly what he's talking about. They couldn't wait. They were afraid to walk to work. Now they literally walk to the White House. Washington is now a beautiful and clean. We got rid of the graffiti. 78 monuments and different things have been cleaned. They were strewn with graffiti. We had 28 fountains that not one of them worked. For years, for decades, they haven't worked. They're all up in service, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have it clean. We're changing all the grass at all the parks. That's going to be changed very shortly. The parks are, because the grass is very, grass is like human beings. Grass is a life also. And we're raking, cleaning, and changing all of the parks. We don't have people. We don't have the tents anymore. We don't have all the barbed wire up. We don't have the wire up. Washington's become a beautiful city. It's become a hot city. But, even more importantly, the United States right now is the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Mr. President, just a point of clarity on the airport. No federal funding will be required. What did you mean when you said Congress?
Sean, so it's going to be bonded for $22.5 billion. United is going to partake in part of the payment, but the airlines who participate in the project are going to pay for it. If I can just make one point.
Somebody even bunking into each other at an airport, but where planes come too close, where planes, in the case of the helicopter the helicopter hits the plane. Europe. I mean, they're invading Europe. It's an invasion, and the UK is a prime suspect. He's going to have to mention it because it's killing you. He's going to have to mention it. I don't know if he would have been better off not doing it. There were a lot of proper air control. So what's happened is we're working very hard on getting the finest in the country now in the world. We've examined the systems of almost every good country in terms of air traffic control all over the world. And we have the best people working on it in the world. And so often you'll see somebody even bunking into each other at an airport. But where planes come too close, where planes, you don't think of it. You see a tower and it looks fine. You go into the.
So many times today, when he has a pardon, and what was stopping him from just giving an honest testimony this morning?
Well, look, I've never been a big fan of Fauci. Why he did that was very simple. His lawyer told him to. I don't know if he would have been better off not doing it. There were a lot of questions that I guess he could have answered, and some maybe he didn't feel comfortable in answering, but his lawyer told him to do that.
Mr. Anberg hasn't mentioned publicly migration at all since he's gone into number 10. Did you discuss it with him?
I did, briefly. He's going to have to mention it because it's killing your country.
Mr. President.
Killing you.
He won't talk to you.
He's killing your country.
He won't talk to you.
And not him. I mean, we'll have to see. I know Sarma did very little about it. And they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from South America. They're coming from different parts of Asia. And they're invading Europe. I mean, they're invading Europe. It's an invasion. And the UK is a prime suspect.
Mr. President, on Todd Blanche, Senator John Cornyn of Texas has been hesitant about the confirmation. Seems to be some sort of deal that he's talking about. What is your reaction to his hesitancy?
Well, all I can say is Todd Blanche is outstanding. And I thought it was pretty routine because he's so good. He just wouldn't find a better person. So I don't know, maybe John Cornyn's upset with me because I didn't endorse him. I don't know what it is, but I haven't heard that there's a problem. I heard he's going through quite nicely.
And do you think Senate Majority Leader John Thune, after the comments you heard regarding state Americans and other stuff, do you think he's still a man for the job?
Well, we're going to find out, and I'll let you know.
It's a beautiful service yesterday for Senator Graham, a beautiful eulogy that you delivered. As far as Senator Darlene Graham is concerned, based upon your conversations, is she going to focus primarily on foreign affairs like her brother, or will she focus more on domestic issues?
I think domestic, really. I've spoken to her a lot, and she's much more focused on domestic, including costs and pricing. And I think she'll be outstanding.
President Jake Clayton, he was just confirmed by the Senate.
Yeah, he's great.
Would you like to see him continue with Bill Pulte's work at exposing election?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure he will. Bill did a great job, and Jay has just been confirmed. And he's outstanding. He was the head of Sullivan and Cromwell for many years, and he's very outstanding. And I think he's going to do a fantastic job. And Bill was great. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in light of advanced ChatGPT AI models escaping their lab and conducting cyber attacks, are you considering stronger controls on AI, and would you consider negotiating?
Well, we're looking at AI. We're looking at controls. We're also making sure that we lead. So we're leading China in AI by a lot. China has virtually no controls. It's.
I told you guys AI was on the move, bro. I told you guys AI was on the move. I've been talking to it. Y'all ain't listening. Y'all trying to act like I'm not onto some shit.
Freewheeling a little bit. So we have to be careful in both ways. We don't want to restrict them where all of a sudden we come in second to China. Whoever wins with AI is going to win. That's how big it is. So it's bigger than the internet ever was. It's bigger than anything ever was. So I don't want to restrict. I know many of these people. I don't want to restrict them from doing great work. Yeah, please.
Under what scenario do you see Iran attacking U.S. installations and personnel overseas and you withdrawing? Or
I don't see that. No, we're not. No, we're gonna hit them very hard. I mean, I can actually say that because in that there's very little they can do about it. It was a different group than we're dealing with. They've already apologized, but we got to smack them a little bit.
Mr. President, will you hit back when they strike?
Will I always hit back?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Just on the point of clarity on that, sir, is that in response to the attempted ballistic missile strike on Jordan last night? When you say it's our friend,
I think more so that, because it was another smaller event. But no, they sent 8,000 mile-an-hour missiles at us. And fortunately, we had our people operating the greatest equipment in the world, namely the Patriot system. Think of it, 5 missiles going 8,600 miles an hour, big ones, coming right at us, and all 5 were shot down. How about that, right? Pretty good. Only nobody else could do that but us, yeah.
How was your meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday?
It was good.
Did you see a time scale?
No, it was good. Look, he's out doing his thing. I'd like him to end the war. So it's very simple. I get along with both. I get along with President Putin. I get along with President Zelensky. And like I told him, I wanted to end the war, get the war ended. Thousands of people, 25,000 people died last month. That's standard. And it's not acceptable. So I said, just end the war.
Mr. President, on the war, do you want the House to come back before August 31st to act on the Russia and Iran sanctions bill after?
Well, if it's necessary, it shouldn't be necessary to be honest, but if it's necessary, I'd like to, are you talking about the Lindsey Graham?
Yeah.
So I'd like them to add Iran as tariffs, not just as sanctions. I think it's important. That's what Lindsey wanted, because I heard that they have tariffs on Russia, but not on those 5 countries with having to do with Iran. I'd like to see tariffs on Iran. It would make it much stronger. So perhaps you're very good at this. You can maybe tell them. I think they should put in for Russia, but I think they should put in for Iran. And that's really what Lindsey wanted. Yep.
And on Iran, one more, sir, sorry.
And good job at the dinner the other night.
Thank you.
Did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate that. President Xi told you that China would not give or sell Iran any weapons. And there's a new report that Iran's about to get 400 rocket launchers from China going through Pakistan to Iran.
Well, that would be surprising. I mean, things like that happen, but that would be surprising. He told me very strongly he wouldn't partake. And he knows I'd be quite disappointed. Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
And he's coming here, I think, on September 24th.
2 questions. First, we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and a good number of 9/11 families have called on New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani to not attend a number of these memorial services. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're having a hard time with Mamdani. The people having to do with anybody having to do with 9/11 right now, on the victim side, and there are a lot of them, they're very unhappy with what's going on in New York, and they're very unhappy with the mayor. I understand that. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Republicans are underway in negotiating the budget. Would you sign a CR without the Save America Act attached? Is that something you want to see?
I'll have to look at it, but they should get to Save America. How simple can it be? Voter identification, proof of citizenship. I mean, now you have to understand the Democrats, not one Democrat will sign because they want to cheat. There's no way they can get elected if that happens. But we should have unanimous Republican support. And if we don't, people should look at those Republicans. But think of it. Who would not sign voter identification with photo? And who would not sign proof of citizenship? Only people that want to cheat. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
New York.
All right. So we're seeing that even our president is noticing. Okay, so that means the people notice, the sensible people. All right, there is a war against America, and right now we're striking back. And the president says he's going to continue to strike back throughout his presidency. So that's beautiful. I like to hear that. The reason why I like to hear that is because that makes me realize that, okay, our president is strong. Our president has at least a will to not just let people threaten us and walk all over us, right? This is something that we have to stand on. I mean, we have to stand on business. It's just imperative. So, personally, with the question of today, is this a war against America? Absolutely. All right. Are they gaslighting society against itself, the American society? Or is American society just lacking those critical thinking skills? Because that's a thing. If they can't critically think, then they can't discern what's going on, you know? But if they're just sitting here gaslighting us, like Mamdani said he was going to do these things and he turns around and does something different. You know what I mean? So it's just how even when they say no new wars or whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is not a new war. This is an old war. This is a war over the last standing nation that represents Christianity and the freedom to actually have a choice. Because in all these other countries, you don't really have a choice. And there's something that I wanted to pull up too, because I think I saved that video. That video was intense. Hold on. Let's see. This one. This is the one we got.
Folks, are black people in America waking up to the ilks of why the Muslim community treats them so badly? Let's take a look. All
right. So, I don't like the assignment of black. I think American is a good one, but people need to understand the difference of what you're talking about. So, whatever. I'll let the black people be black if you want to be black. I'm just American. That's all I can be. All right. But I have to run this real quick because you know this is getting sensitive.
Says his Pakistan friends can't tell his mom they are friends because she dislikes black people.
But I know that my friends from Pakistan, like, he can't even tell his mom that we're friends because she hates black people that much. So,
a Pakistani. Oh, so your Pakistani's friend. He can't tell your mom you're friend because
he can't tell his mom that we're friends.
Because she doesn't like black people.
Yeah. The thing is like, white people are the least racist people I've ever met. So, and I've met
That's
people
true.
all over the world. So,
why do you think Pakistanis don't like black people, but then everybody's quick to say British people are racist?
Well, to be fair, most people don't like black people. Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly the reason for it, but I know that my friend...
Actually, I agree with this young black man. I would say white people are amongst the least racist people I've ever met in my life. It actually goes, though, I think black people are the least racist people I've met in my life, then white people, and then everyone else has been extremely racist, including Asians, Middle Easterners, Jews, Arabs mostly. They can be extremely racist. Here's 2026. This is Bob. Muslim has iPhone app to buy and sell black slaves.
So let me make this abundantly clear. Black Africans are bought and sold by the millions today by jihadists, by Arab Islamists today. Over 2 million black Africans just in North Africa alone are bought and sold for as cheap as $200. This is called the trans-Saharan slave trade. It started in the 7th century when the Arabs began their conquest across North Africa, and it has not stopped. This is not a slavery that happened. It's a slavery that is happening. And the fact that the United Nations will make a big deal to draft a resolution about a slavery that ended almost 2 centuries ago, but still hasn't said anything about the current slave trade that's happening right now today as I speak to you. That is the height of hypocrisy that the Dog and Pony Show, they are running cover for slavery, for modern day slavery.
Oui, maman. Je vais te parler en français. Tu as quel âge? Combien? 16 ans.
She's sitting there dripped out in that burqa, selling so many Africans, you don't even know where this African was from. Could it be Ghana? Could it be Guinea? Could it be Nigeria? Where are you from again? That wasn't her first African she sold, and it won't be her last African she will be selling.
Yeah, folks. And I wonder where is the Free Palestine movement, the Black Lives Matter movement that always talks about how Israel is racist to black people when they see shit like this? Where are they? I don't understand. Muslims, the Ummah, the Muslim and Arab countries are the most racist to black people on planet Earth, more than white people could ever dream of being if they wanted to be. And there's just silence. Actually, not only that, you see so many black people, unfortunately, specifically black people in the West, shilling for the pro-Palestine movement, who literally still today, out of all the Arab countries in the world, mind you, I've done the research, out of all of them, besides Iraq, which has some weird place as well, Palestinians, Gaza specifically, is the only place in the Muslim world right now who actively has a neighborhood called Harat al-Abid, means a neighborhood of the slave. It's the only. And there's been such a spotlight put on it, and they didn't change it, which means they don't give a fuck. And it's reserved for 15,000 black Palestinians. Folks, that's the side.
Black people, Islam is not for us. In fact, according to them, black people cannot go to heaven.
What?
Let me help you.
Damn.
I'm here to tell you the truth. One of Muhammad's...
Hold up. Black people can't go to heaven according to the Quran? That's interesting. That's very interesting. Wow. It's a war on Jesus.
Slaves, the slaves he loved to trade were black people. One of them was called Bilal, who when he died, Muslims lied to people to say that he was the first black Muslim. No, he wasn't. He was forced into it. They made him make the call to prayer, not because they favored him. He was a slave. He actually asked the person who took him from the care of Muhammad and said, will you free me for the sake of Allah or keep me? And they kept him a slave. This is a reality. So when you see a nation of Islam being black people, it is deception. But let me tell you why it works and why Christians were weak. They have indoctrination. They are so strongly indoctrinated that it is not about what the book says. There's something called taqiyya in Islam. Taqiyya means I can lie to you in order to get my message across. They say act weak until you become a majority, then take them over. Right now, I've been posting this because of some things that I've seen coming. The Muslim community is growing dramatically. Here's the reason why it's growing dramatically. Number one, it is the nature of people who come from other, especially the Middle East or African continent, to produce more than the Western world. So for every household, you may have 1 or 2 kids. They'll have like 8 kids that are indoctrinated. What is an indoctrination? It's an ideology. It's a way of thinking. In America, in New York, let me show you how we are so easy. How can New York, a place where 9/11 happened, where they ran planes into the Twin Towers and shouted, Allahu Akbar, you elect a mayor with the same belief, praying in Times Square, doing time of prayer, saying, Allahu Akbar, we are taking over, you can do nothing about it. You don't understand what is happening right before you. You are trying to believe for things. They have an ideology they live by. And you cannot fight an ideology, you cannot fight an idea with faith. You have to fight it with an idea. You cannot fight an ideology with prayer. You fight it with an ideology. Most Muslims don't even know their faith. Listen, I grew up in it. I grew up around it. Some of my good friends were Muslims. Most of them don't know their faith. If you see a Muslim telling you there is radical Islam, it's a lie. Islam is just radical. They invite you to the faith once, twice you don't do it, they could take your life. According to their religion, it's fine. It's not radical Islam, that's just what Islam is. When they take over a country, if you're a Christian, you have to pay extra tax. If you can't pay tax, you either convert or die. Iran wasn't a Muslim country. Do you realize Arabic is not even Iran's country? It's not Iran's language. How did Iranians start speaking Arabic? Their symbols are Arabic. No, these guys speak Farsi. They are Persians. That's not their country, but look at what they do. That's exactly what they do. And to show you that the world does not understand this is that I was watching a video that this imam, which is a priest, was literally saying, in Washington, we have lobbyists. We have lobbyists. We are paying them to push this idea. Imagine one day 40,000 or 50,000 people have been killed in Iran. The next day, people are fighting to liberate Iran for whatever their reasons is. But let's think about the people getting ease. If these people get out of power, at least these people can figure it out. That is the hope. The next day, people are like, no, let Iranians decide. 50,000 people are killed, young and old, arrested, killed, murdered, because they opposed a government.
He's right.
What I am teaching you, I am not teaching you to have this fantasy idea. God truly, the Lord Jesus truly has to become an ideology. It has to be a way of life that you truly defend your scriptures. You defend your faith. Be willing to die for it.
Man.
Not just shouting and making posts, but be willing. Because they are willing to do it. And they're not afraid to do it. There's this young guy who exposed Minnesota for fraud. He was in another city where some Christians were protesting, and he was there. And Muslims pulled up with cars. And some had weapons ready to kill them because they heard that they were burning the Quran. How many times have they burnt the American flag? You did nothing. How many times did they insult your Lord and you did nothing? Now, I am not calling you to be violent. That's not our way. But at the same time, we are supposed to be bold to defend our faith and defend our way. We lived in countries that we saw how this thing came in. It's usually being free and liberal that makes way for this. Tolerance. They have no tolerance for you. If their law is so good, let them go back to their countries where it is raining. Why are they coming to you? Why? Because their idea is to take over.
That is true.
They're not trying to simulate. The 4 Hebrew boys were in Babylon. They never changed. They held on to their faith. And God used them supernaturally. Are you bold enough? Are you bold enough to defend your faith within yourself and outside of yourself? With intelligent arguments, with intellectual speech, not just emptiness. We are not empty people. The African slave trade was not started by the West. It wasn't. Please hear me. Christianity had been in Africa way before the West came to Africa. They had just discovered the faith. One of the oldest, not the oldest, but one of the oldest Christian manuscripts is found in Ethiopia. Don't you know Egypt was a Christian country? Now Egypt is no longer a Christian country. It used to be a Christian country. It used to be. Why? Because Jesus went for refuge in Egypt. It used to be a Christian country. Right now, you can't even recognize it. There was a man that was about to be executed for leaving Islam and becoming a Christian in Egypt. Yet their president is a good man. But guess what? Sharia law he can't control. They were killing so many Christians in Egypt at a certain time that those who are of the Christian faith tattooed their children so that they know they came from a Christian family. These guys don't simulate. Stop playing games with them. It's not like that. That is why this message is important. So wherever you get influence, where God has, the place that God has designed for your influence, you should be indeed planted there so that you can change the minds, not just make people's life easy, but change the minds of people. Even those who don't believe.
That's what we're trying to do.
If we don't do that, you thought COVID was bad? You thought the lockdowns were bad? We cannot accept persecution before time. People glorify persecution, not before time. No. We lived in places we saw that. They are literally in New York, in the capital, shouting death to America. Why are you here?
Well, exactly.
And the government is not doing anything, and those in power are not condemning it. That is why you need to replace them. Protect your nation. That is why we need to replace these people. My son is driving now, and I was just on Instagram earlier on, and a man went to charge his car, and he was stabbed to death in the car while he's charging his car. And when the ambulance came and they were trying to patch up this man to put him in the ambulance, another person on drugs took the ambulance and drove it away. So the man died.
I'm sorry.
Because of a city that is badly managed. prayer is not the only thing that is going to fix it. We need prayer and action.
Yep, you do need action, that's for sure.
Some of you that are sitting here, you are called to govern this state, but you're just sitting there. You don't know who is being elected. You're worried about the general election, yet the general election has no effect on your counties as you would think. Right now, there's a mayoral run, and people don't even know who is running. Look at how badly our taxes are. Look at how drugs everywhere, homeless everywhere. It is strategic. These people don't care about us. We pray for them, but my prayer is God will raise you, raise you, raise you, raise you, and raise you who is watching me from home, so that you can do things that God would want implemented for things to change. Yes, we pray, but some people are tools of the enemy. They can't change. They have to be replaced.
Listen, I agree with almost everything that this man said. Great preacher. Maybe not so much with the idea that Islam is the problem, that the ideology is the problem. Because if you really read into Islam, it's not as much of a problem, okay, as the interpretation of Islam in the many places it gets interpreted. Specifically, the Sunni Shia interpretation of Islam is very, very, very problematic. Islam did not abolish slavery. They still have slave trade from Africa today. Here's a black man in America talking about this.
We can no longer hide the fact that Muslims are the primary reason why West Africans are in the United States. Became slaves.
The United Nations says growing numbers of African migrants passing through Libya are being sold as slaves by traffickers or militia groups before being held for ransom. The UN's migration agency interviewed West African migrants who told of being bought and sold in garages and car parks in the southern city of Sabah, one of Libya's main migrant smuggling hubs.
As for the slavery issue, Islam didn't abolish slavery.
So when you ask the question, why didn't Islam abolish slavery? Because this mechanism is important for society.
Why didn't Islam abolish slavery abruptly? Because then it would create chaos, anarchy within the society, the social fabric of society.
Syndicate in Libya. He says he was sold 4 times and that slave traders bought him for between 400 and 500 euros.
He took me in.
Okay, so there's what he said. They didn't abolish slavery in Islam because it would destroy the fabric of society. But America's doing just fine. I don't get it. Okay, we'll see what else they got.
He went to sell me in another part of town. We were brought to Brak to work. We were slaves to a whole neighborhood. They didn't ask us whether we were hungry or thirsty.
So yes, the only place, I've talked about this over and over again ad nauseum on this channel, the only place where the slave trade, the African slave trade is actively encouraged and still very much actively ongoing is in the Arab world and the Muslim world. It is the only place in the world where it is continuously happening every single day in, day out. Go look into Libya, what's going on there. They do it every single day. They are not ashamed of it too, by the way. It's a way of life. You heard what they said. It's a way of their life. It's how they operate. Without the slave trade, the Muslim world could potentially collapse, which is fucking insane. But that is the truth. That is the truth, folks. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time.
So yeah, that's the homie right there. He's pretty cool. Like his channel, subscribe and whatnot. But ultimately, this is what we're up against, guys. It's pretty bad, bro. It's pretty bad. Like it really is. It really is. And a lot of people are trying to pretend like it's not. Oh, it's not that bad. Like, bruh, it's pretty bad. Let's see, is there any other goodies, or should we just I don't know, let's see. I could stream hop a little bit. Let's see what we got here. All right. Okay. Goldie's live right now. Let's see what this looks like.
If you've tried Tadalafil or Tadalafil, but you want something more powerful.
Uh-oh, my bad.
Unarmed Iranians, like this crippled man murdered by the Islamic regime.
Right now, we're just
yes.
In on
when I see these explosions, it makes me happy, and I want to see more. I want to see the Islamic regime eradicated, sent back to hell.
She's pretty
where they belong. Where they belong.
She's pretty passionate.
Okay, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me just really, very quickly go to your questions and comments, and then I'm going to call it a night because I am a little bit jet lagged. But I will be back again tomorrow on a more regular schedule now that I'm back home. Goldie, did you hear that the regime live streamed the execution of 3 protesters today? I've heard about it.
That's wild. That's wild. I don't know. What else is there? There's some stuff out there. What do we got? There's some bits out there. Oh, this came in 30 minutes ago. What? Reported China sending something. Let's see what was happening. Hold on. Wait. Go back.
Welcome back. A live look at the Strait of Hormuz, courtesy of Marine Traffic. We have a question here. What's the likelihood we'll see even further expansion of the war in Iran? That's the question on our mind after the Iranians restarted the fighting this week with a surprise attack on U.S. forces in Jordan, and then Saudi forces for the first time joining U.S. strikes in Iraq afterward. So this depiction of the Strait of Hormuz, and since we're talking about the Saudis, we've been talking about the Saudis and the Houthis quite a bit lately. This is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This is another critical waterway that we may be discussing quite a bit moving forward here. Meanwhile, President Trump today telling Fox News that we're, quote, going to beat the effing S out of them. We'll be hitting them hard, he said. They're going to get a beating. Let's check in with Professor Alon Burstein. He's here with me. He's the host of the Israel-Palestine Report. And Alon, as always, there is a lot going on tonight. Let's start with this latest post from U.S. Central Command. They just put this out saying forces began launching strikes against Iran at 8 p.m. Eastern time. The strikes are a powerful response to yesterday's attempted Iranian attacks on U.S. forces based in the Middle East. So Alon, I guess my big question is, watching this on YouTube a little bit later tonight, we're having this conversation just past 9:30 Eastern time. So it's been about 90 minutes since this operation began. I know you're clued in and you're wired into what's happening on the ground through leaks and what we're hearing from sources that are closer to the action. Are we seeing that these strikes are still being carried out? What level of clarity do we have on that?
Thank you for having me, Austin. From what we've seen, at least in the last, I'd say, an hour, so like you said, it's right around 9:35 p.m. Eastern time now. In the last hour, there have not been any more reports of air defense systems being activated. Where the attacks took place tonight is significant because it clues us into how the United States, at least as far as it's concerned, how it's viewing the current return to fighting. You know, we'll talk in a moment about what happened the last several days. If we just go back to tonight, what we had after this pause is the United States carrying out attacks, and despite all the rhetoric, despite the increasing threats, despite Trump talking about obliterating and a return in bridges and power plants, the actual attacks that took place tonight, according to reports on the ground, are pretty much mirroring the same levels of attacks that we've seen over the last 2 weeks. If you zip it back to me in the big screen, I'll try to zoom in here. And where most of the attacks have happened over the last, again, 2 hours, have been in and around the Strait of Hormuz again. We've had attacks at Sirik over here, Jasik, Bandar Abbas, Keshem Island, these other smaller islands over here. And then we had another attack that was reported in the areas of Ahfaz, this area up here. But all of those are connected to the waterway. All of those are connected to the Persian Gulf and to the Strait of Hormuz. We have not seen attacks escalating to what at least Trump was implying might happen, which includes power plants, which includes Pickaxe Out Mountain, which includes all kinds of other targets, either north of Iran or in the northeastern, northwestern parts of Iran. We haven't seen any of that, at least yet. I will say there's all kinds of sporadic reports that come out now and then from basically activists on the ground that are saying that air defense systems have been operated here and there. So we've had a report in the last 24 hours of air defense systems that were operated in Tehran, in the capital. We had another report of air defense systems being operated somewhere near Iraq over here. But in all of those cases, no one took responsibility for any attack, and there's no reports of attacks on the ground. That doesn't mean there wasn't an attempted attack. air defense systems could be operated against a drone, could be an Israeli drone, could be an American drone, could be spy drones, could be a lot of things. It doesn't mean necessarily an immediate escalation, but it's an indication of the tensions. It's an indication of the tensions and how high tensions are running right now. But somewhat surprisingly, despite all the rhetoric leading up to the weekend when Trump and Israel were already talking about a full-on return to fighting, and now with the bombastic they're going to be hit hard, so far the targets are pretty much a repeat of the same types of targets that we've seen every night over the last 2 weeks.
So all of this, we're talking about this because the new round of fighting has begun. Iran began that new round of fighting. What's the train of thought as to why they might have started this most recent exchange?
So it's a great question because a lot of people and a lot of analysts also have been surprised. When we look at what happened over the last 3 weeks, we've now had this escalation. The breakdown of the ceasefire happened 3 weeks ago. It happened when Iran fired at 3 commercial vessels going through the Omani Pass in the Strait of Hormuz. The United States canceled the lifting of sanctions or reinstated the sanctions and started bombing. And then we had this escalation and it was really leading up to this last weekend. What happened all of a sudden on Sunday night, the guns went silent. The guns went silent. The United States, without saying anything, just did not attack that night. And as a result, Iran, without saying anything, did not attack Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, all the places they've been attacking, did not attack them either. No one knew what happened. Lots of speculation. There's a lot of reports that Trump was told that the United States does not have enough interceptors, and that's why that's been denied, but others have confirmed it. And no one really knew what happened. And then Iran put out an interesting message on Sunday night. Put out an interesting message, and they said, silence will be met with silence. That is essentially a code that's used in the Middle East. Israel's done this a lot with Hezbollah and Hamas that says, if you don't fire, we don't fire. We don't have an agreement. If you don't fire, we don't fire. And that's what happened Sunday. That's what happened Monday. And then all of a sudden, Iran fired again. All of a sudden, Iran carried out this 4 or 5, depends who you believe, ballistic missiles that were fired from Iran, targeting this base in Jordan. Why did they do that? So firstly, we have to consider the timing. There's a reason I brought up what happened 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when Iran attacked those commercial vessels, it was in the middle of a meeting between Trump and NATO leaders. When they carried out this attack on Tuesday, it was several hours after the meeting between Netanyahu and Trump. This is symbolic for them. This is sending a message. This is saying, while you, Trump, can meet with the other leaders and think you're going to decide the fate of the war, we're going to decide the fate of the war. We're going to be the ones that decide when there's firing, when there's not. So that's one reason. A second reason is Iran is trying to come out on top at the end of this war. Through the memorandum of understanding, they're hoping to get a lot of control over the Strait of Hormuz, and they're trying to show that they can carry out attacks whenever they want. And they've been testing the waters.
Good analysis.
Since Sunday, their militias were firing drones from Iraq at Saudi Arabia, at Jordan, at Kuwait, and according to some reports at Israel also. And they were testing to see if the United States would retaliate. The United States did not. So this was just an escalation. It was pushing the needle even further to test. Can we occasionally fire at the United States? The United States will absorb it. Second reason. But the third reason, and this is the one that I think is often ignored, and you have heard me to say this when it comes to the Middle East and wars in general, probably 100 times over the last 3 years. When we want to understand how a country or entity operates, look to internal politics. Within Iran, there is a constant push and pull happening right now between 2 main factions. One of them is led by Ahmed Wahidi. He is the head of the Revolutionary Guards. And the other is led by the president, Masoud Pezeshkian. Pezeshkian would like things to spiral down. He is an economist at heart. He's desperate to rebuild Iran's economy, wants it to spiral down. The Revolutionary Guards want things to escalate. And I would read this mostly as a push and pull within the internal politics of Iran. The Revolutionary Guards saying, you may say silence will be met with silence, but when we want, we'll fire. That's how I read this more than anything else. It's part of the internal politics that happened within Iran that then projects obviously elsewhere. Then we'll see now where it goes. Iran carried out that attack. The United States responded by not by attacking Iran. The United States retaliated first by attacking the militias in Iraq. Pretty substantial attack. Now they've attacked Iran. Iran will probably retaliate against Kuwait. And now the sides will have to decide, are they going to go back to talking, or are they going to just have a repeat of what we had the last 3 weeks, random bombings happening each night without any measurable results on either side.
So there's been a number of headlines that have come through, and I appreciate the insight on what may be going on the Iranian side. Hopefully time will tell and give us a little more clarity. But for now, we'll keep watching and we'll keep eyeing social media to see if there's any developments in real time relating to the strikes that the U.S. is carrying out tonight. Okay, let's go to this reporting. A lot of people have been asking about the Egypt situation. To catch anybody up who's not clued in, a drone hit a U.S.-owned gas storage tanker at Egypt's Mediterranean port of Damietta. This is according to a British security firm, and Reuters is reporting this. President Trump was asked about this today. He said that he was briefed on this situation, and then he warned that the U.S. would respond forcefully if Iran continues to escalate tensions. Where is this port alone? Is this a significant event, this situation in Egypt's Mediterranean port of Damietta? I actually have an image here. There's a yellow peg that kind of shows where it is in relation to Israel and in relation to Iran. And if you can, Alon, give us some insight. How important does this situation feel?
So I'll say that right now, no one has claimed responsibility for that attack. None of the militias in Iraq, not Iran, none of the militias that are backed by Iran in Syria, nor have the Houthis claimed responsibility. That's significant because it tells us that someone wanted to send a message, but didn't want to full-on escalation. If you send a drone, suicide drone, an attack drone, but don't actually claim responsibility, you're saying, I don't want a retaliation now, I just want you to remember that I'm here. But what's really the question is, who is trying to bring Egypt into the array, and who is trying to send that signal? Again, it's speculation. No one's claimed responsibility, but honestly, my first instinct would have been, this would have been from the Houthis, because the Houthis want Egypt to be pressured. If we look at the map here, if you want to put it back to me, I'll try to zoom out on the Middle East a little bit and give some perspective. So here we have Iran, and here we have the Strait of Hormuz. And then over here, we have Yemen and the Bab el-Mandab Strait. This is where the Houthis have a choke point. And this waterway that leads into the Red Sea, then all of the commerce that goes through here, unless it stops in Saudi Arabia, goes up and goes through the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean. The port that was attacked was up here. It was up here right near the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is a major source of revenue for Egypt. Give or take 10 to 12% of the world's maritime commerce goes through there. Each and every one of them pay a tax to Egypt for using that strait. Because unlike the Strait of Hormuz, where there's an area that is international waters, this goes directly through solely Egyptian territorial waters. And therefore, everyone pays a toll. When the Houthis block the Bab el-Mandab Strait, the ones that suffer are mostly Egypt. They are the ones that their economy comes under stress. They're the ones that way back when, in 2024, when Biden launched the coalition against the Houthis to break the siege, it was Egypt that was pressuring Biden saying, you gotta end this. You have to make sure the Houthis stop their chokehold. I would estimate that the ones that have the most to gain from firing that drone at Egypt are the Houthis, as a way of saying, not only can we choke off the Red Sea, we can also very easily start bombing your territory also. Egypt has a very, very powerful position in the Arab League. It has a very, very good connection to a lot of European countries. And chances are, again, it's speculation on my part that it was the Houthis, but chances are whoever did this, whether it was the Houthis or anyone else, wanted Egypt to be stressed, wanted Egypt to be another voice that is screaming at Trump, saying, just give Iran what it wants in order to end the situation. We can't have another 2 or 3 months of these escalations.
I got to ask you about one more thing before we go here, Alon. This was another report. Reuters had this. They had this exclusively. Iran is expected to receive within weeks a first shipment out of up to 400 Chinese-made shoulder-fired air defense missile launchers as it rebuilds its defenses amid the war with the United States. Alon, does this make sense? President Trump was asked about this today, and he said that if this report is true, it would be surprising.
I mean, it's hard to know. Iran has tried very hard to ally itself with anyone who is against U.S. hegemony in the world. We've seen Iran join into an alliance with Russia already when Russia was fighting Ukraine. We then saw Ukraine carry an attack against Iran. Iran was threatening to retaliate against Ukraine or European targets. China's in this game also. So far in the war, China has played a very neutral stance. They've been very critical, but mostly what their role has been to threaten the United States and say, you can play your siege on Hormuz all you want. You're not stopping our ships. If you stop our ships, we have a problem. And the United States very quietly let all the Chinese ships pass through the siege the United States had imposed. Meanwhile, Iran has been working very hard to try to position itself almost as the forward command of the anti-US allies, so China and Russia, the forward command in the Middle East, essentially to rival, like Cold War politics, to rival Israel and the modern Arab countries that are allied with the United States. I will also say that when the war broke out, throughout the month of March and part of April, there were a lot of reports that Iran had found a way to bypass a lot of its exports through the sea because it was using an old train route that was going through the northern parts of Iran, through Turkmenistan and all kinds of areas of Uzbekistan. If we look up here, going through all of these, part of them going to India and part of them going up there to China. That is not nearly as efficient as using the maritime route. That doesn't mean that Iran has not been taking advantage of it, but I would not be surprised. I don't know, obviously, if shore-mounted air defense missiles are being sent or not, but it would not surprise me at all if Iran was doing everything, including outbidding a lot of people, to solidify right now a stronger relationship with China. Because if this ends tonight, or if this ends in a month, or if this ends in 6 months, Iran now wants to be their country in the Middle East that's funded by them, that they want to keep strong to keep the United States on their toes. They want to position themselves in a stronger position, and they're doing everything they can to do that. And it's not going to surprise me if that report is true, or if at least some aspects of it are true.
Alone, always appreciate the analysis. How can people keep up with your content and your courses?
Look me up on YouTube, Israel-Palestine Report. You can also go to my website, alonburstein.com. Lots of webinars we have going on and lots of analyses of the Middle East.
Israel-Palestine Report, got you. Shout out to Israel-Palestine Report. That guy gave a pretty good analysis. I mean, that hit, like it really did. So, I definitely think Iran is a wonderful place. Let's start there. Second, I want to say Iran is taken over by a regime that has an ideology that is a world domination type of ideology. This is hard to shake, man. This is gonna be hard to fight against unless we really come through. I mean, you guys saw the evidence, but you know, I just wanted to do that one pretty simple. Leave it at that. It's time for me to
Get
shut.
ready.
Shit exclusive. My little homegirl put me on. She said, this shit brand new, free flow. Lately rappers been acting like this is not an art. Huh, you forgot about that part. Lately rappers been acting like this is not an art. Huh, you forgot about that part. Lately rappers been spitting like they ain't got a heart. Because when I stepped to the game, I ripped that shit apart. My evolution with the Gyarados from Magic Carp, and I ain't finished shopping till the whole world is in my cart. When you fucking with me, you choose a role and play your part.
If you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break out outside of this matrix,
hard. Only if
you want to live in your comfortable delusion,
I'm trying as hard as I can against all of the odds. Pushing as hard as I could is what got me so far. But what are my chances actually reaching the stars? Still, I will never get up tatted over my heart. Never my senses heightened and my weed up in the jar. Sexy Middle Eastern looking ass like I'm far.
If you are not here
to the game, I'm an eagle, you're part.
Hear something that's outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions, the way they think for themselves, you do not belong.
Your favorite rapper try hard, still is a mark. Still, like
if you are
to the
not
game,
trying
I can
to
spark. My
be
lines burn
positive,
like one.
if you are not trying to help create solutions
if
while
your
we
ass
discuss
wanna
the problems and how they
barbecue
got
your
here,
beef up like the seats in
you
my
do
car.
not belong here. Negativity, hate, disrespect, name calling, those things will not be allowed here on this platform and not in this empire. We are the ones, the true Americans, that want to be free and stand as we have always stood.
Damn, this shit exclusive.